You're listening to the MoneyWeb SAFM Market Update podcast with host Fifi Peters.
Well, Standard Bank seems to have found itself on the wrong side of the law in Mozambique, where a central bank in that country has fined it 66 million rand for fraudulent activities. For more on this fine and the pressure actually that has been experienced on the shares of Standard Bank as well as its other peers in the sector, I am joined by Koki Koiman, Portfolio Manager at Denka Capital. Koki, thanks so much for joining the show.
Yeah, I must say we're having very bad reception here, and I hope you can hear me. But the Standard Bank fine was actually very surprising, more because of, I think, the strong focus on ethics that Standard Bank always has. And it seems to have been two individuals. But it does raise a concern about the controls in the Mozambique operation and the culture that allowed this to happen, and then possibly also in other African countries. But
yeah, so the risk.
So
essentially, it sounds like you're saying that. I mean, the risk here is investors are asking. I mean, if this happened in Mozambique, where else is it happening potentially? Although one needs to be careful not to jump to those conclusions. But the Standard Bank share price under pressure today, but along with its other peers in the banking sector. And I just wondered how much of the pressure was due to the fine, in your view, Koki?
Yeah, the fine is about 0.0004% of our forecast for 2021 earnings. So the fine itself, I think, and also if you look at the share price movement, then Standard Bank today is down 5 versus First Rand on 5.2, Nedbank down 5.1, Absa 4.8. And like ShopRite down 4.1. I mean, so I think the whole bank sector got really knocked down very harshly because of what's happening in the country and the lack of confidence that this will put in foreign investors.
0.004% sounding very immaterial. Is that correct? And also, I mean, I was just reading a couple of reports and it doesn't seem like Standard Bank has commented a lot on this fine.
Yeah, no, so it's immaterial. It's 0.0004%. So it's a very, very small fine. Although in Mozambique, mostly it's large, but Mozambique is a very small part of Standard Bank's earnings. So, but as I said, I think it's more worrying in terms of the allegations that this did happen and how it happened. So there seems to be a problem with the culture. If two individuals are doing this type of thing that's reported, we don't know the truth of both sides of the story yet, but it's more important, how did this happen? Is there something wrong with the culture in Mozambique, or is it just these two individuals that were working on their own?
Yeah, sounds highly unlikely, but let's not speculate. Let's talk about something perhaps that we have a bit more clarity on, and that is the big losses that we did see in the banking complex right now. Koki, just how are you playing this market given the risk of the uncertainty in the environment presently?
Yeah, no, it's remember, this is also global, although we have been affected worse. But maybe just to put into perspective, the Rand is down 1.5% today, month to date, 2.5%. Now, month to date, the Brazilian real is down 3%, the Mexican peso down 1%, the Canadian dollar down 1%. So it's also dollar strength. And obviously what we've done, or what's happening in the country isn't helping, but the Rand weakness is also due to global effects. And then again, our banks are down a lot, but month to date, they're actually not that far down if you compare it to what's happening in the world. But yes, we think what's happened this week should be temporary. One just cannot imagine that society can continue, in this way, and that the government will act strongly as it started doing, maybe too slowly, but it started. And in 6 months' time, the market's forgotten about this, and will look forward. But the key thing here is the knock that it's most probably has in foreign investors' confidence in South Africa. And so we ourselves, we're thinking that the price moves have been strong. The earnings that are going to be reported will be quite good. This is fairly small in terms of their earnings. If it stops, if it continues, then obviously one is very worried. So I think most investors like ourselves standing back a day or two to see how bad it gets. But I think the market and the banks will bounce back strongly if you can see the government's getting it under control.
So if you want to take advantage of a potential opportunity here in the declines in some of these banks, First Rand down 5% and Standard Bank down almost 5% and Capitec also lower, which bank would you suggest that our listeners perhaps pick up at these slightly cheaper levels?
Yeah, so the both ABSA and Nedbank are still very, very cheap, very mispriced for various reasons. And so we ourselves have gradually started investing in Nedbank and ABSA, and we think this downturn, 5% down, actually gives one another opportunity. They're trading below book value. And as I said, in a year's time, a lot of what's happening now will be forgotten. And we'll look forward to stronger economic growth and 15% return on capital and a good dividend. And they're trading below book value. So I would add to ABSA or Nedbank.
All right, Koki, thanks so much for that play. That's Koki Koiman, Portfolio Manager at Denker Capital.
You've been listening to another MoneyWeb SAFM Market Update podcast, uploaded weekdays at 7 p.m. For more MoneyWeb podcasts, go to moneyweb.co.za or the app and follow MoneyWeb News for daily updates.